All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me this week for this week's Business Builder Workshop. We're going to talk about self-reliance while delegating. I'm your host, Shawn Patrick Moloney, broker owner of Momentum Realty, as well as consultant with Thoth Company. Also have two podcasts. Got my social media channels right there. I really look forward to talking to you guys this week. We spent a lot of time breaking down and talking about what is a business, what is a job, and all that. Now we're going to talk about delegating, which is really the next step. It's taking on employees and how to be self-reliant while you're delegating. So the risks of over delegating and not paying attention to what you do and what your employees do is really the focus of today. Biggest thing to remember, do not do everything yourself. The name of the game is leverage. So we hear a lot of people talk about other people's money. We hear, financing leverage, we know equipment leverage, but one of the most common forms and best forms of leverage is actually hiring employees. So employees can do a lot for you, but the big thing is you need to make sure you stay self-reliant. And the idea of if you hire employees that take on tasks and you have no idea how or what they do, you probably won't be able to hire for it in the future. Of course, are you going to be the best chef or are you going to be the best whatever? No, that's what you want to hire, of course, but you have to have a general understanding of how they do what they do so that when you go to hire again or you go and the person's sick and you got to take their job on, you can at least do a reasonable job at their job. Of course, you're not going to be as great at them, but that's why we hired them. And that's the point of getting good people. So how to begin delegating. So that's one of the first things you got to remember, right? Is like, how do you begin? So oftentimes, especially as a small business owner just goes and does it, doesn't write it down, just knows the process inside, outside, upside down. But yet when we ask them how they do it, lots of times they can't answer. That's why this stage is really important, documenting. Every day when you go to do what you're doing, write down how you do it, why you do it, when you do it, what you do while you're doing it, what you watch out for, how is it safe, how is it not safe. These are the things that are going to set you up for success in the future, because when you go to have someone else do what you're doing, they're going to be able to do exactly the way you did it because of the fact that you wrote it down. You also want to make sure that your people are documenting things. So when you do start hiring, you put people in, you want them to also be documenting. Most businesses, when you look at the real big businesses of the world, you see different ones such as like a Nike or all these things. When they hire thousands of people. How do you think they get success out of them? Because over the years of being Nike, they've documented every job. They put together protocols, procedures. They put together handbooks, caution signs. Go into a Subway. When they tell someone to make a sub, do they say put some tomatoes on it like a small business, or do they say put 5 tomatoes on it? So creating those systems and processes comes from documenting what it is you're doing. So systems and processes are the way, the paths really to success. They are going to show people and guide people. This is the direction you need to head to find success that you're looking for. This is really important because when we have great systems and processes in place, we lead our people to success, which is going to, again, make them basically next level. They're going to continue to level up. But that's part of the self-reliance thing is you need to be reliable to document, create systems and processes, because as much as it's cool to delegate it, if you're not reliable, it's not going to end up happening. Next, after you've put it together, you've got these systems and processes, every single time you do the job again, you want to analyze the success and failures. Too many people, I don't know, and you guys are watching many times, I'm not a big fan of public education, but they learn A through F type rating, right? Like failure. So remember, failure is actually a positive in business as far as to identify it, because we're not gonna focus on, oh my God, it's so bad that I did bad. We're gonna focus on how do I never do that again? How do I make sure that this isn't the outcome every time? And when we find successes, we say, what did I do differently that made this more of a success than any other? Then after you find those, you want to do a reiteration, the new version. You want to move it to the next level. So this is again back to that you being reliable. It's okay to create a system and a process and have it run for a while. It's how you make profit. If it's running really well, then you don't have to change something. But the truth is everything really in business is dynamic. Everything. So the more dynamic you are, the more you do this rinse repeat method, the more you're going to find bigger and bigger and bigger success. And the easier success will become as far as the idea of You already have pathways towards said success. All you need is a job. All you need is a piece of work to work on, and you're going to find that success. And then just keep repeating that cycle. So as you add new things to do, document them. Now remember, sometimes it'll be in one person's job category. I do this for this is how I do this, and then suddenly you have a new hire, and you're going to have to offload those. So again, when it comes to reliability, we need to make sure that those documents and everything is in place so we can hand it on to the person who takes on the new. A lot of times they call them job descriptions in the modern day world. A lot of times they'll be in systems where you're assigned tasks already, but it's those things that tell you what you're supposed to do to succeed. When handing jobs off to others, it's important we still know how to accomplish that task. So I want to just keep beating that into you because it is about self-reliance. It is about being the business owner. It's about running the shop and ship versus being on the shop and ship with other people. When we're handing the jobs off, again, you're not going to be the expert. You're not going to be the best at everything. I have a video guy. I can't shoot video like he does, or I have an IT person. I can't fix, automations and systems. But when we're adding things on, do I make sure that I have him give me a once over on what's going on so that if I ever have to try to explain it to somebody else, I would kind of be able to? Of course. Am I going to be able to do everything they do? No. And that's okay. But knowing and understanding and having an understanding of how long and what goes on is how you make sure your business runs correctly. Big thing to remember as an employer and self-reliance and everything. Do not cut corners, right? So if you cut corners, your employees will too. Thoroughly follow your systems and processes. This is most common with do-it-yourself owners. They tell everybody new, oh, you got to wear your safety gear. When you go up a ladder, you have to have a harness on. And then when no one's looking in the shop, the next thing you know, they're up on the ladder with no harness on. Employee shows back up to the shop, sees the boss without a harness on, and doesn't say nothing. But next time employee's out, he doesn't put a harness on and runs up the ladder. When he's asked why he didn't put a harness on, he goes, just going quick. And then you're like, well, I'm going to hold you to company policy. You're actually getting terminated. And they're like, well, why last week were you up the ladder? So just remember, the impressions you give can last a long time in employees. You tell somebody to do something that you don't do, it's not that easy. Yes, you pay them. Yes, they are paid to do the job. But when it comes to the idea of how you want it done, if you want it done the exact way you want it done, then it needs to be done that way every single time. This is very common in things like, say, I used to own a landscape company. Say I go out one day and I'm behind, and I decide a good way to make up some time is to skip over weed whack in the backyards and not blow down the walkway out back. Okay, so I do that one day. My guys are with me. I justify it. I'm like, I'm busy. We'll just do these this way today. Guess what's happening pretty much every Friday for the entire remainder of till you catch them doing it? They're skipping over that stuff. Of course they are. People naturally, all people attract to the easier version of doing something. It's not that they're lazy, it's just the human way, because at the end of the day, when you think about calories, the human brain wants to conserve calories. So the more cut-arounds, workarounds it can find, the more it will head in that direction to keep itself from not having to work very hard. It's just the way we're programmed, and you just need to be always aware of it. But again, in order to get what you need from people, you need to do what you speak. What do they say? You need to do what you preach. You can't just be talking and not doing it yourself. Right. People are always only as reliable as you are. So this is another big one. So if you're all the time letting your employees down because you don't show up to things like a meeting or all these different things, and you tell them, oh, you have to, and you make it all awkward, they're only going to be reliable as you are. So if you're not reliable, they're not going to be reliable. Naturally, people tend to test boundaries and borders as they work. And when they see you doing stuff, again, similar to that last slide, it's just so easy for them to slide into the category of just, that's how I work. So I want you to remember this. When delegating, be sure to allow the other person to learn without the fear of your thoughts. What do I mean by this? I mean, it's okay for people to fail. We went over that earlier. Failure is how we learn how to find success. Failure is, not the enemy. I would say if you were to look at a guy, say like a Mark Zuckerberg or anyone like that has massive success, they have had more failures than you could possibly even dream of. They fail every single day, so many times a day that it makes your brain want to shut down. But they were okay with that because they know that is the version that doesn't work. Now it's time to try the next. So when you hire people, it's very easy to be that hover parent, that helicopter parent, be right on top of them and watching everything. Oh, don't do that. Oh, they're never going to learn. I saw a great example of it the other day. I saw a manager at a store, and she asked one of the employees to show someone how to use the coin sorter. And when they went to do it, they did it themselves. And the manager reached out over the desk and said, "Hey, I wanted you to have them do it with their hands and you explain it." And the other person seemed to get a bit flustered, but the truth was that manager was correct. You've got to let the person do it. But the problem is the person doing the training was in such a rush to go do something else that it made the person feel awkward. When you're doing stuff like this, you need to allow people to figure out things on their own on how timing goes and how to do it. And maybe, you make your first sandwich at a new sandwich shop. It's not going to be ready for the menu. It's probably, you need to have the person come waste a few sandwiches, and maybe you guys just make a bunch of sandwiches and drop them off at the firehouse or whatever. But you're going to have to allow some loss. The version of school where we have, you either pass fail, we don't want to make people fail, because if we make people fail, then we're going to have problems finding success. We want people to understand it's okay either way, so they're willing to experiment and get ready to get moving. So trust your colleagues. Trust that your employees can get the job done as well as you. As a business owner, you must get over the idea that no one can do the job as well as you. Building trust in your processes and your employees will allow you to take will allow you the opportunity to take on other matters to grow the business. So there's a control freak in all of us, especially type A personalities. They think they do everything best and everything. But when it comes to being self reliant, you need to be able to go back to what you do, which is working on the business. If you're spending too much time working in the business, you can get yourself in trouble. You can have situations where you think everything's going great, but that's because you get your nose down and you're working on the work, but you're not paying attention to that the marketing isn't firing off, or that HR department's having trouble, or whatever it be in your business. So you need to hire reliable people, and you need to learn to trust them. So we just went over that on the low level when they're new and just the idea of letting them do things. But then on the higher level, you need to also trust them to take on, projects. What you want to do that's going to get you the most success out of people is small micro goals. Start with tiny goals and work your way up. Go from this to the next step, to the next step, to the next step of success, versus trying to get them to hit a milestone goal right away and having the person feel like a failure. If we said, I want to do 10 million in sales this year through you, the day that they walk in the door, some people might be motivated, but other people are like, wow, that's a lot of work, versus saying that, this month's goal is, and then telling them the number, breaking them down into manageable goals so that people can reach goals. Because again, if you just set one massive goal and you just have one massive failure, that's very silly, versus having lots of little goals that lead to the opportunity for the one big success at the end, because you put all the small goals together. The smaller the goals, the more broken up, the more times you can win, the more wins you have, the more confidence that people build, the more confidence that people build, the more they're willing to try and the more they're going to find success. It's amazing when you give people small pathways to success, how good they can feel about themselves and how quickly that can grow. It can really get, basically some steam behind it and get really moving. And that's something we forget, because if we're always there and we're telling people what they did wrong and, oh my God, this is bad and that, they shut down eventually. They get scared. They get scared to go outside their lane. And then what do? They start asking you more questions. And then they start getting worse and worse and worse. Why? Because they're fearing that you're going to let them go. They're fearing their job. So what are you waiting for? That's a big question. What are you waiting for when it comes to taking full responsibility for your business and everything? When are you going to finally be aware that blaming the vendors, blaming the employees, telling me that there's no one good to hire, telling me that, there's not enough jobs out there, there's this and that, they're all excuses. What are you waiting for? Own it. Own your business. Own everything that your business does and know that you have control. You can make the changes and you are ultimately the one in charge. You're the one that is behind the wheel. And if you find all bad employees and you find everyone not finding success, either you have a crap process and system or you have hired the wrong people. It's that simple. And if you think about it, everyone drives a car, right? And you drive a car, most people very successfully. Even though it's such a challenge to do that job, right? It's not simple. We think it's simple just because we've done it our whole lives, but it's not simple. People are capable of great things. It's just, are you capable of bringing them to their greatness? Are you capable of being a leader or are you a follower? That's really what it comes down to. So thank you so much for joining me today for Self-Reliance While Delegating. We're taking a week off next week. I'm actually headed down to Alabama for some ninja training, sales training. But after that, we're going to start module 5, new business concepts. We're going to go over some really cool stuff like automation, outsourcing, and hiring with precision. I think these will be very helpful modules for getting your business to the next level and to move up. And then on May 6th, we're going to do the commencement, and we're going to go over what to do next. If you're looking to follow any of my channels, my personal one, everything from book recommendations to my travel and everything on there. Momentum Realty, my real estate brokerage, buying, selling, and owning homes all throughout Massachusetts as well as Rhode Island. And last but not least is Thought Company, my consulting brand, where we help people with startups, turnarounds, exit strategies, profitability studies, anything that they really need to do. Highly recommend, if you watch this business series and you're ready to put it to action, put it to action. Reach out to me. I'd love to work with you. Also, if you wanted to check out my podcast, Real Facts on Real Estate, it's for real estate professionals. It goes over everything from buying, selling, offering, and things to do with clients, sales, all that good stuff. And the other one is home ownership, which is all about buying, selling, and owning homes. It's focused on the homeowner side of things. Goes over everything from when to shut the water off for the winter to how to stage a house to accepting an offer and going over different offers. A lot of great information on there, both of them free. Both of them paired with a Facebook group as well as a blog, as well as a newsletter. If you have any interest in talking, reach out to me. You can find me on my websites. Reach out to me through email, call me, whatever works best for you. And I look forward to talking to you. I thank you all so much for listening. And I hope you're getting a lot out of this. I hope that this is helping you take your business to the next level. And feel free to reach out to me. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great week.